Part of the
We're ready to
formula?
get started with the meeting. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks everyone for coming. We'll start with the agenda. Is there any changes? Okay, have a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Any public input? There being none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Anything, questions, anything to be pulled on that? Not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Sure, I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. And we'll, all right, employee recognition. We have several. We have from the Auditor Treasurer's Office, Patricia Muskovich. She's with the election support, began temporary position on March 15th, 2023. In the Sheriff's Department, Troy Christensen is recognized for 25 years of service on March 16th. And Emily Martinez, dispatcher jailer, began part-time position on March 20. And thanks to all of those. Okay. Highway Department, Jed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We got our new highway user tax distribution fund paperwork. I'll leave with Denise to hand out to you. Good information, good reading. Couple things on the agenda for you today. The first is to review and approve the bid for project CP 29-23-02. This is our ag surfacing up in the north end of the county. And we received 4 bids this year, with the low being Vote Dirt Service out of Bemidji, $569,526.22, with the breakdown for county and township and the stockpile listed on your paperwork. Very pleased with this bid, a little bit under estimate. I think we had about 10 1/4 estimated, and this was around 943 a ton on this, so good bid, and we would recommend low.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll move to approve.
Have to second it.
Second.
First Ted. Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Just, okay, that passes.
And second, we got review and approve the resolution and agreement with MnDOT for the Trunk Highway 34 Detour in Akeley. This is their project coming up this summer, and they want to use 4 of our CASAs, 12, 23, 25, and 49. And in the agreement that I sent out, it's got the breakdown of how they pay us back based on that gas tax formula. It's not a lot of money, but we don't have a lot to say either. So we'll look at those roads, and you know, if we see that there's obvious damage caused by the detour, we'll take that up with MnDOT. But I don't foresee it. It's not a real long duration. So this authorizes, I believe, my signature and Administrator Cadwell's on the agreement.
Jed, do these detours get a little extra attention since there's obviously more road traffic on than normal?
As far as
Maintenance?
yeah, I mean, they can. I mean, we've had in the past where, you know, long duration or heavy loads that travel on them, they can do some damage. We've had MnDOT come back in and do overlays before. That's pretty extreme. Sometimes if the road's not like, maybe the pavement marking's not very good, MnDOT will actually come in beforehand and they'll remark them. Or we could actually have that done afterwards too if it's the case, but we don't typically see that kind of traffic that's gonna do that. But yeah, we'll take a look at them before, we'll take a look at them again after, before we sign off on the release on them.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Not?
Move to approve.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
walking back and forth here. Okay, any more questions, comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes.
Okay, and then one thing that's not on the agenda, can we talk about our truck issues?
Yeah.
We had one of our tandem plow trucks go down, or we were having some issues. Maybe I should back up a little bit. We were having some issues with the way that it was running, and so we sent it over to the repair shop in Fargo. As they were trying to diagnose what was going on, take it on a test drive and whatnot, it actually blew out the turbos, had to get towed back. So anyway, we have major issues on a 2010 International. So if you recall the talk with our equipment, we were trying to get 20 years out of our trucks. That seems a little bit long. A lot of counties are down in the 10 to 12 range for their turnaround. And we were thinking if we could be in the 14 to maybe 16 range, that's probably good. We do about a truck a year. We have a fleet of 14 trucks. With this one being a 2010, it's almost to the point where it's time for it to go. Well, anyway, we got an estimate. It's a little over $20,000 to fix it. The problem is we're waiting on 2 trucks. This was not one that was actually gonna be replaced, but this would have been one that moved to a spare at the time. And, so we are expecting those trucks anytime they are at the box company, the plow company. So we'll see those 2 trucks sometime soon, but the problem is when we're selling these on auction, we don't even see $20,000 value on the trucks. We're somewhere between $15,000 and $18,000. And so we're kind of struggling to approve this repair bill. It's money that we're not gonna see. So is this a truck maybe we should just bring back, part out? We've still got a couple other Internationals on the fleet, so we can use some of the stuff. We'd just put some money into the rear end of this thing. We would actually take that axle off and put on one of the other Internationals. So we can use some parts which would be way more valuable to us than trying to sell this thing on an auction. Nobody's gonna want it, the engine's no good. So just kinda looking for some direction, what your thoughts are on putting this kind of money into a truck that's, not gonna be in our fleet for that much longer.
How often do you use if you have a spare truck sitting there, how often do you typically use it in a year?
Actually, quite a bit. We try and keep 2 spares, sometimes maybe 3. Nice to have one at each of our stations. There's always something going wrong that takes it out of service for a day or whatever, and that unit for that day is very, very important. Our fleet is full when we send out for snow control, so they get used plenty.
So how many working spares do you have right now?
We have 3, I believe, on there.
That's typically what you like to have is
We
3.
like to have 3, yep.
3, not including this one?
Well, this is in our fleet right now, so this is a regular truck
Oh, this is,
right now.
okay, so, okay, yeah, and you're gonna get the other 2, okay.
Yeah, we'll get the other 2, and then we had talked about, do we put 2 on the auction? Do we put 1 on the auction? I mean, we can take care of that at that point, but, we're getting some fairly old, I think. Some of the drivers take a liking to certain trucks, even though they get newer ones, so we do have a couple that are older than the 14 to 16 years. I think we have a 3 still on the list, so.
So that, for me, the only time it might make sense is if it would be a better spare than one of the spares you already have.
Yeah.
That it would last as a spare for another 8 to 10 years, then it might be worth it. If that's not the case, then it's really not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the
Looking at it different, like
current
you said.
condition, it's not. And we do have, our spares are fine, so we're not at a point where we have to get rid of, like, this truck is costing us too much of any of the spares that we currently have. So we're okay keeping those for another cycle, an annual cycle. As part of this, we did not budget a truck for 2023 because we're expecting the 2 to come in. And so what I would ask is that it's okay for us to go out and get quotes on another truck. From an accounting standpoint, we would have to earmark the funds from this year, which we could pull from equipment reserves. But the anticipation is we won't see that truck until 2024, so it'd actually be budgeted funds for 2024 at the time. We have the reserves to cover it, if by chance the truck was to show up in whatever, October, November. But with this one happening, that's what I would ask for, is that we're okay to go out for quotes.
This one that's broken down, have there been any other real issues with it that
Yeah,
kind of a maintenance headache?
it is, yeah. Yeah, we have We have internationals that I think we have 2,000, are they 10s, 11s, and 12s? One from each year, or 9, 10, 11. They all came with the same motor, and we're having issues with the motors. And any time that it ends up in the repair shop, they're not, some parts you can't get for them anymore. It was kind of a lemon for those deals, so I won't say what motor, but it's, yeah.
So the cost of a new truck is 120-some thousand or more?
No, it's getting close to 300,000.
Okay. So the thought of putting $20,000 in a truck that, so if the truck was in good shape, what would the value be?
Maybe 20,000, maybe.
So you could conceivably find a used truck to replace this one as a spare?
You know, I don't know. We've never gone that route.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like your idea of keeping it for parts also, if you just put a rear end in it. If the motor is historically bad, then like you
Yeah.
say, we're putting more money into something that's not good.
Well, and we talked to International, you know, to see if there was any value to them. They don't want it. There's no price worth discussing with them. They just simply don't want it. And even the transmission alone, you know, could easily go out on another truck of ours. Well, that transmission, Allison transmission, you know, you can't, it'd be great to have that sitting around, but, you know, what are the odds? But it could happen.
You get rid of it, a train will go tomorrow.
Yeah, you know, and the actual value of the truck, that's the unfortunate question is that we don't see the actual value of these trucks when we put them on an auction. It's just not.
Is the body in good shape, rusted out and stuff like that, or?
Well, it's getting there, cause it's 13 years old, but, yeah,
That's, for me, that's what I look at is,
yeah,
mechanical stuff, in my opinion, can be replaced.
right.
When they start rusting, then you can still replace body parts, but you may have to replace a lot of, you know.
Yeah. You know, to us, it just didn't make sense to throw 20 more thousand in, and that's not even a guarantee, and they have it right in here. I can read you the language that, well, maybe I can't. It says something about, this is to fix what they know is wrong with it right now, and once they fix it, they gotta keep going through the diagnostics to make sure that the thing is running right. So this may not be an end-all cost for this truck. We just know that by putting this much more into it, we're never gonna see that money out of it. They just don't go for that much money. And we're at a point now where we're gonna replace 2 trucks shortly, so this would be one that I would say that would just come out of the fleet, and we'll pull it back here for a $500 tow charge and call it good.
I guess if they have a history of poor motors, and if this truck itself has got a history of needing repairs, then I would lean towards keeping it for parts.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that, so.
Sounds like a good plan. Keep it for
Yeah.
parts. Yeah. Okay, anything else?
And, you wanna give a project update or anything on where we're at for lettings? We got, put you on
Yeah,
the
we got-
spot. We got a couple lettings set for next week.
28th, yeah, we're gonna relet County Road 49 in Akeley. We let that last year, and we only had 1 bid. And then we got the bridge box culvert project coming up in Lake Beltane, the one that we let last year too, and same thing, was way overpriced, so that'll be also on same day coming up, but
Do you think whoever's doing 34 would be interested in doing Akeley?
Quite possible, yep. Yep, that's what we tried to time it with.
Time it,
We're, that project is actually being let Friday,
is that this week?
yeah. Yep. They'll do Friday, so then that contractor's gonna know that they're at least low. It won't be awarded at that point, but they'll know they're low, and then we waited until the following week to
Okay.
see if maybe they can throw a good number at us. And there is some local interest on that too, so could be a good deal. We should get more than 1 bid, so.
And we got quotes out for our annual pavement marking, but that'll come in the end of the month, so that's routine.
You seeing a lot of potholes on county roads?
Not too bad on ours, no. I think we're in better shape than some that you see out there.
others, yeah.
Our roads are perfect, yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's interesting time of year, so, but ours, pretty good,
Okay,
yeah.
sounds good.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Jed and Jeff. Okay, natural resource management.
Good morning.
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 So I have a number of items today. First of which is quotes on forest site preparation for tree planting. We received one quote, and as typical, there is only one contractor in the state of Minnesota that does this work that we know of that will bid on our projects. Future Forests, Inc. out of Askov. Their bid is $92 an acre for trench and spray, $85 an acre for just broadcast spray. And then we also give them the opportunity to bid on the chemicals, and they bid $96 per gallon for the Tordon K, and then $35 a gallon for the Liberate. Showed you the prices from last year. Their trench and spray is the same as it was last year, which is a good thing. Broadcast spray is up $6 an acre from last year. The Tordon K is up $9 per gallon from last year, and the Liberate is the same as it was from last year. Yeah, we are recommending the low quote, but it's the only quote. But we do consider that it's a reasonable quote.
Any questions?
I'd like to see the comparison from last year. I'll make the motion to accept the low bid, the only bid.
Only bid, okay. Do we have a second?
Sure, a second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes.
All right, the next item is review and approve a resolution to act as a legal sponsor for an outdoor recreation grant application for improvements to Heartland Park. This is a grant application to replace the playground at Heartland Park that was put in back in 2004. So we're at about 20 years on this. This grant funding would come through this year. Probably the construction would not be done until next year. So we're looking at a 2024 replacement. So, and then we're also looking at a ADA compliant sidewalk from the parking area at the boat ramp down to the dock area. This is something that we've been working on for a long time with the Let's Go Fishing group. They've been pushing us to try and get some kind of a ADA compliant sidewalk for that project area. Right now, they're when they bring in some of their clients that are in wheelchairs, they take them right down the ramp, which is fairly steep. And not only are the clients old, but some of the people, the volunteers that are working in with the Let's Go Fishing group are aging as well, and sometimes they have a little problem controlling those wheelchairs as they're going down that ramp. So we don't want to see anybody end up in the river. So we are looking at putting in a little less steep sidewalk so they can get their clients from the parking area down to the boat ramp. And then again, also, they have a rather large pontoon. And as we know, the river tends to fluctuate in levels. And so in order for us to continue, not to have to go back out and constantly adjust the height of the dock to match the levels of the water, we're looking at putting in a floating dock, which would just keep it at a constant height. So we're looking at both the playground replacement and this project to redo or put in a sidewalk. Total grant amount is estimated at $297,300. It is a 50-50 match with the county, so the county is looking at $148,650. One thing I should note on the playground equipment is that the company that I talked to has a grant program that they set aside a certain amount of money every year for grants back to the people or the groups that purchase their playgrounds. And basically, if you buy a qualifying playground, which this would be a qualifying playground, and if there's dollars left from that money that they set aside, they basically turn around and pay your 50% match on the playground installation. So I'm guessing that they would probably pay right around or about $75,000 of our, the cost of the playground, which I think was at $134,000 for the playground. So they'd pay roughly half of that. You know, the grant amount is for 297,3. Actual cost would probably be much less than that. You'd knock another $75,000 off that, so it'd be about $222,000. So, again, a lot of money. Playgrounds are extremely expensive, but they do last for 20 years, so. And the dock, again, there's another $20,000 for a floating dock. So all this stuff is expensive, but unfortunately, that's what we have to work with, so,
So the playground is used a lot,
yes.
so that's certainly worth it. That water, the water park within the playground.
splash
that's-
pad. We've
the
taken
splash
that
pad.
out.
You've taken that out?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because the splash pad we estimated would use roughly over 4 million gallons of water a year. And so the question was, what do you do with the water? Do you know, one option is to just let it go down the storm drains, and which seems to be an incredible waste. The other thing is we do irrigate a portion of the park, and we're pulling water out of the river, so we're paying for a permit for that, we're paying for that. The thought was that if we can capture the water from the splash pad and use that to irrigate the park, at least we're getting another use out of it. At 4.9 million gallons, that would irrigate our entire park for the year. So rather than pulling water out of the river, we could use that to use the water from the splash pad, but then we would have to irrigate the entire park rather than just the portion that we do. So, and we've been looking at that as well, since the entire park is being used. You know, a lot of the green space is being used for the disc golf course and people walking their dogs and whatever. A lot of that open area gets pretty crunchy in the heat of summer, and so it would be nice to be able to irrigate the rest of the park. So we're gonna look at that as another project somewhere down the line, the splash pad and irrigate the rest of the park. So that's why we took it out of there.
So would that water come directly from the city wells?
We were looking at drilling our own well.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like, what was it, $16,000 a year for city water?
Yeah, 14, 16, something like that
So you
to,
have trouble meeting the needs sometimes with the residents?
Oh, yeah. So, the county's 50% share, and that would need to be budgeted for 2024 then?
yes.
Okay, gotta make sure you pass that on to your successor then, so they don't, if case, I'm sure, I'll think about it, but,
Yeah.
or Jeff will.
Was that budgeted worst case scenario, even if we might not get the company's match?
Yeah, and if we don't get if the company runs, you know, like I said, they set aside a certain portion money. And if, by the time we get our grant, and we go through the process, if those grant dollars, or if those dollars are exhausted, there's nothing left to fund our 50% match, so that we would have to pay the full amount. So, budget for the whole thing, and hopefully we don't have to spend the whole thing, so.
So that money, that match money that comes in after the projects get started?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's, we have to actually pay for everything up front, and then, they reimburse it, it's a reimbursable.
Okay,
We need to vote on it.
yep, that
Okay.
needs an approval, so,
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, any further discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? That passes.
All right. Next item is more of just an informational item. It's a DNR has been talking with us. They maintain a public boat access on the river leading into Benedict Lake. And in the process of looking at doing some upgrades to that access, they realized that the actual ramp itself is on county tax forfeited land. So in discussions with them, they were looking at possibly the county either donating or conveying a portion of the parcel to the DNR so that they could do the maintenance and upgrades on the public access. Well, we looked at that parcel and said, why not give them the whole thing? It really doesn't do the county any good. It's mostly all low ground, and it does adjoin the Paul Bunyan State Trail as well as the public access. So we said, could we convey that whole parcel to the DNR as no cost? Really wouldn't, the county's certainly not making any money on it. So that's an option. In talking with Dave Schatzko from the DNR, they have where they took the train trestle out of the Park Rapids here. There's that portion from where the train trestle was up to Heartland Park that is currently DNR property. They would look at donating that portion to Hubbard County, kind of as an exchange for this, rather than going through the exchange process, which is very expensive and extremely time-consuming. It would just be, we convey this to them, they convey that to us. They got to go through some issues because they had lock-on dollars on that parcel, so they've got to jump through a few hoops to do that. But that's kind of what we're looking at doing, and so what I would like is just a direction from you as to, if this is something that we should continue to look at and kind of move this forward. Park Board has looked at it, and they've thought that it was something that we should do as well, so.
Would that land that's by the park here in Park Rapids then be usable in a sense?
Yes. The original thought was, with some people at from the city and before they took the train trestle out, it was that there would be some kind of a seating area or some kind of an overlook down at the end of that point, because it's a pretty nice view into downtown Park Rapids. So, the county would need to develop some kind of thing in there just to put something out there. But we've been maintaining that anyway. We've been mowing that for years and years and years anyway, so.
So it's high ground, not like this parcel the DNR wants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be a nice land exchange. They wouldn't need to go and update their little form here because they have it as just donation right now.
Yeah, well, by going through a conveyance, we don't have to go through the process of doing an appraisal. We just convey it to the DNR for public use. And this qualifies as a public use since it's being used for a boat ramp. It's just a simple, fill out the form, I think, and send it in, and the Department of Revenue basically conveys a deed to the DNR, to the state, for that parcel. How they work it on their end on that parcel in the park is different, I don't know. But the idea is eventually we give them this, they give us that, and everybody's happy.
Okay.
Is this, this is the spot here, isn't it, Jim?
Yep.
Yeah, right next to the,
And they would have to give us or they would have to,
You can take
we would
US
have to give them an easement for the Heartland Trail on that parcel. But, Yeah, they were looking at giving us that whole piece, so. And that would include part of the parking lot that, off of Heartland Park there, so.
And that would be that land south, just south of that road going into the park.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it would go all the way up to the,
It'd be the whole blue box.
Oh, that whole.
it would be the
blue-
whole
okay.
parcel, yes.
Okay.
I like that.
With the, as he said, with the easement for the trail.
Yep.
But it's much more contiguous with what we need, and vice versa, back at Lake Benedict, it's much more contiguous with what they need. Makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Very nice exchange. Okay, do you have a motion?
Do we need a motion?
Is it authorize land commissioner to move forward with discussions? on
I don't know if
conveyance?
we need a motion, I'd say more just a
Consensus?
Consensus?
direction to move, continue to move forward on
Yeah,
this.
oh yeah, go
Yeah.
forward then, okay.
All right, thank you. Review and approve, I know it says 13 timber appraisals, we added one in late. So there's actually 14 timber appraisals for an April 17th timber auction. One of the ones that we added was a forfeited sale that we sold in the past, and the logger didn't cut it and turn it back into the county, so we're just gonna resell. So we have 14 tracks. Total cord volume is 10,759 cords, and at 605.12 acres, and the total appraised value is $202,605.93.
So Chip, are these all marked? Your crew goes out and marks all these areas? I've always been curious as to why they're all irregularly shaped.
Following timber types, mostly, and following, wetlands and stuff like that. There's a lot of times, most of them are following a timber type or a change in age class. So the more edge you can create in some of these weird configurations is better for the deer. So there is a wildlife component to that as well.
Okay.
It's called the edge effect.
Okay. And I noticed, looks like maybe 3 of them are in Clover Township right all next to each other.
Again, we found some more blowdown in there, so we're just trying to clean up some of that stuff from last year.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're right, 3 of them are right next to each other.
Okay.
Yeah, part of a bigger parcel that we cut off this year, so, or last year, I guess it was.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Did we move, okay, do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any disapprove? Nope. One more.
One more. So we, as a part of our normal routine maintenance on our forest roads, we take blading, grading bids, and we received one quote for the north section from Gladen Construction at $107.55 per mile. And there is, I don't have a total on it, roughly about 10 miles of forest roads that they grade, and they do that basically 3 times during the summer, once a month, and just keeps them kind of in fairly decent shape, so. And then we did receive 2 quotes in the southern district, $75 per mile from Thielen's Excavating, and then $96 per mile from Gladen Construction. And again, this is, these are the same companies that bid on this every year, so, and there's probably 16, 17 miles in the southern end. And we do blade the Pine Lake, Coon Lake, Spider Lake trails a little bit more heavily because they get used quite a bit. But everything else is typically just once a month. So we're looking at just approving those quotes for road grading for the season.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes.
Then a couple of things that just were not just informational items. Last Wednesday, we did close on the Hubbard County 680 acres of TCF lands that were acquired. So those are now in Hubbard County's name. And then tomorrow, the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission will be reviewing the master plan for Deep Lake Park. And we have submitted some additional information for that. And hopefully tomorrow, by 3 o'clock or so, we should know if they're going to classify that park as of regional significance. So we're hoping that that will happen. So I will keep you informed when that meeting is done. I'll let you know what their decision on that is.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Chip.
All right, thank you.
But Chip, I have a quick question for you. So the tax board for the land that you can buy over the counter, how often is that looked at? So what I'm asking is if it was appraised at a certain value last year, the year before, this came up at the HRA meeting because we're looking at a lot. Can we ask to have it appraised again?
If we reappraise it,
Yep.
then it has to go back on a public auction.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know. Okay.
And there, I met with public surplus. They do online land auctions, or do online auctions, and a lot of the counties have been going to online land sales, do a lot of their tax forfeited land sales on there. So a lot of what they've been doing is they've been using their over-the-counter sales as kind of a pilot program to see how well that program works for them. That's something that we may want to do, think about is putting some of those, those lots that we've got out there on that public land auction, and it costs the county nothing. There's a 5%, I believe it's a 5% buyer's fee that the buyer pays. So the county actually pays nothing on that, but just might be a means of auctioning off some of those parcels that have been sitting there for years and years, and give us a chance to try that program out and see how well it works for land sales.
These parcels have high specials again, so it's not,
That
it's
is-
not the price the county's put on the land,
Yeah.
it's the specials.
Yep, and that's part of the problem that we have, is trying to get some of those to have those high special assessments on them. All right,
Okay.
Thank you.
Chip. Next, social services, 3-year service agreement.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we just have up here on the agenda the approval of a service agreement between the City of Park Rapids and Hubbard County or Heartland Express. It's an additional monies that we get from the city that is not included into our revenue reported to MnDOT, which is authorized. And so they've been paying us $1,800 a month just as a source of they're contributing to Heartland Express and public transportation.
How many riderships is it in a week? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I could get you that information. I could, I'll have Nick pull it up. I mean, we do the monthly reporting, so I can get you that information.
Oh, just do a month then, you don't have to break it down to the week. It seems like people use it a lot.
The ridership has increased, to the point that, I mean, Nick has really brought some good ideas to Heartland Express, and he's really working more with the bigger picture and with MnDOT, and it's really increased quality of the ridership. I know we had some issues with some of them, and that's kind of what Nick worked on. He looked at getting that, he likes, we like getting that feedback and then developing a plan that is better suited for the citizens. I know that there is a large ask of expanding our service area to Nevis, Akeley, that kind of stuff, because we get a lot of requests. We get a lot of requests, and it's a little bit more of a process, but we're looking at, or Nick is doing the analysis and looking at what it would look like. So it's, we still run the one bus up to Bemidji, which there's 5 or 6 riders every week that go up there. They go to their appointments and they go to Walmart and they do their runs and stuff that they have to do while they're up there. So
At our last LAC Mental Health Board meeting, when Nicole was there explaining the efforts being made to make it more efficient. They really appreciated that, so thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. And they'll have representation. She's really sharp, really a good ad for our team.
Okay, great.
One resource that might be good is Todd County. The friendly rider is used heavily.
Yeah, and so Nick, part of the efficiency portions of it, they went down to, we went to Friendly Rider and observed the dispatch services for a day, and have really been using those, as well as they went to Paul Bunyan, and just to kind of get a better idea of how maybe they could be more efficient. And so Nick has been reaching out to them, and it's been really good.
It's an important service to have, and I'm glad to hear that you're talking about maybe expanding it.
Yeah, I had been in talks, before Nick got here, I'd been in talks about, what do we do about the north part of our county? Because we do have citizens up there that that don't have, they don't have transportation. And so, part of the big problem we have now is the buses. I mean, we ordered a bus in 2020, and it still isn't here, just because of the shortage. Now, the bus companies came back to us and came back to MnDOT and said, yeah, we asked for we set those prices, but the cost is now $50,000 more. And so MnDOT went back and revised those contracts, those bus contracts and purchase agreements, so that they were to match. And so hopefully we'll be getting 2 buses soon. And those were the no county match ones that I had applied for back in 2020. So yeah, we got some different ideas. Just trying to get, MnDOT has been really good to work with, so.
Okay. Have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second? Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And now we're to the administrator.
I don't really have anything other than to answer any questions you might have. Of course, valuation notices and tax statements will be going out probably the end of the month. They should be mailed within the next 6-7 days. So those will hit, but you knew that because we had a conversation about value last week. And I think there's a bunch of other stuff being worked on in the background, but if you have questions, let me know. And then we have our department head meeting next week.
Yep.
I'll be going to that.
It's Ted's turn?
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question. So on Wednesday, May 24th, I signed up it's through AMC, Managing Difficult Conversations at Sourcewell. I'm just wondering if I can get paid to go and have my mileage paid. That'd be all right? Okay.
I would typically believe that anything sponsored by one of the groups that we're already approved
So
for
it's just automatic?
would follow, but I would kind of want to get the head shaking and consensus that if it's training provided by MCIT, by AMC, by MRC, it would probably typically follow.
Okay.
In my mind, that makes sense. I don't think it's so explicit that it would need a separate approval unless that was what you wanted to do. But I saw a bunch of heads nodding saying if it's AMC sponsored, then, then that makes sense.
And Tom, you're going to the leadership thing, right?
Summit, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you, you were thinking
No,
about?
it was full.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah, so that's a good thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
We should make sure we try and send, that all of us get there at some
At some point,
point.
Yeah, I wanted to start my second term off with that, and then rotate with somebody else if you want. Or, I'd see no problem if a number of us went to one at one time.
I'm actually registered as well, so hopefully we'll bring something back from that and
Yeah.
a couple of ideas that we can integrate.
The
Yeah,
one,
I've got a copy, it's some nice topics, if you wanna look at it.
the one thing that I'm looking forward to from this training from Sourcewell is difficult conversations with constituents. So it wasn't
Yeah.
just staff, it
Is
was,
that the May 24th one?
yeah. So I thought that sounded really
It kind
beneficial.
of goes along with this one, how to magically connect with everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, so it'll be similar.
Which goes to my thought earlier about the legislative conference too. They really should be matching
Yes, they
state
should.
commissioners up with metro commissioners and vice versa.
Did you suggest that with AMC and the MRC?
Yeah, so keep sharing it,
Yeah,
because then you can have those conversations
that's
with
right.
people that have a different perspective.
Well, we're on the topics of meetings to note, and you got the MRC meeting. I'll be
Yep.
able to go to that.
I'm gonna be able to go to that one.
That's by Zoom, so I'll be there.
Did everybody get the notice on that?
Yep. Do we have,
That's the
and
one
so
in
we got
April?
the link, and so now we just need to make sure that we get the link for the agenda, et cetera.
Okay, all right, I just got it.
That's the one in April?
And it's
April 3rd.
Zoom.
Yeah, send that out again. I'm not sure I got it.
Oh, well, she sent an email out this morning saying if you didn't get it, please let her know so
Okay.
she can add you to the email list. Did you get that one?
Where we're at.
I have
I think I just got it during the meeting. from-
Yeah. It came
Something
out
just
right when
came
the
out.
meeting started.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Commissioner Delahunt asked me to provide an update where we were with our IT director search. And we identified 4 candidates to interview from the initial pool. We interviewed 3 of them. We offered the job to 2 of them and were declined in both instances. So we've gotten additional applicants. We've taken a look at the pool again, and I think that we've got 3 or 4 candidates to schedule interviews for. So that'll be upcoming. And if we could check before you leave with Mike on scheduling, we can facilitate getting that probably on the books next week.
Was housing one of the issues for them to decline?
One of the issues with a position like this is we end up advertising on Indeed, and when you advertise on Indeed, you often reach an audience of people who are fishing and shopping and kind of looking for hitting the home run. And we didn't have an offer that I thought was reasonable that would meet the needs of somebody to move or transition to here. So we went back and we looked through the applications, and I think we've got 2 new applications, and we're gonna take a look at 2 that were in the previous pool.
Okay.
So I think we'll have some good interviews.
And are you ready for interview committee for land commissioner yet?
I'd have to check and see what the status of that is, but, yeah, we talked, it was that side of the table.
Yeah, Tom and I, and
Yeah, I'd like to
if
be
I'm
on
not
it.
mistaken, Chip has 3 more meetings?
Oh, before he retires?
Yeah,
That
April
goes right
4th
fast.
or 5th is his last day, so, I think that the advertising, I think the closing is this week, so we should probably identify who is gonna be on the interviews. Is it one or both of you?
Both of us?
Both of us?
Okay.
Sure.
And then if one of us can't make it, then at least one of us would be there.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic if we could identify that it's one or both. And we should check with Mike on the scheduling too, because I think we're closing Friday, or first review of applicants is Friday. So it would probably be the week of, not next week, but the week after, that we would schedule interviews.
Can you commit to both?
So that would basically maybe be looking at the first week of April?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the first week of the month works out pretty good for me.
Okay,
I don't have, besides the board meeting, I usually don't have any other meetings.
both of us.
Okay.
It'd be nice if it could, if at least some of the interviews could be on that Tuesday, but I'm flexible that first week.
We'll get Mike in here after the meeting and take a look at the calendar and try to set some blocks up. For the IT director, we scheduled all three of them back to back, so it was one afternoon, just one block of time. I'd like to do the same with both of them.
Okay, perfect.
And then just for informational purposes, the League of Women Voters has scheduled a information forum for the 4 candidates running for District 4, and that is on April 6th, 6:30 in the evening, and that's at the Arc in Akeley.
6:30?
Yes.
And you said information, that's like a forum then?
Yep, like when you,
Okay.
yep,
I'd like to go to that.
yep. And so if anybody from the public is listening, I know the League of Women Voters welcomes questions from the public. And if you attend that night, I'm assuming they'll run it as they have previously, questions can be submitted that evening.
I have not seen that link for the MRC meeting, so can you, Jeff, maybe send that to me?
Yeah,
You know what?
I just did. I forwarded it to all commissioners just about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, and then let them know that you're not on there, Tom.
But they, in order to get through spam filters, they had gone down to sending it to the chair and the administrator and then asking us to forward it, and now they're somewhere in between again.
Yeah, because I got it direct this
Right.
morning, yeah.
I got an email from you that says it's about MRC, but it doesn't have a link in it.
Okay,
So I'm
well
wondering if
then,
that's the correct one.
Then that's the most current information I have.
Okay, so still don't have a link yet. So I'll have to get one. Okay, committee reports. Who would
Well,
like to go?
I'll start because
Okay.
I went to the HRA meeting last night and we have a request for you, Ted. Since you're on the HRDC Executive Board, we'd like you to bring this request to them. There has not been a housing study in the county done since 2008. And so usually it's the HRA that does housing studies or HRDC. And so we are asking that the HRDC would pay for half of the countywide housing study.
Okay.
So if you could bring that request to them, and Mary just presented this last night as far as, did the HRA board want to take this, and they did. So then she doesn't know right now what it'll cost, but we felt that we could ask the HRDC because every resident in Hubbard County that pays taxes has to pay a tax to the HRDC. And this would be countywide, and the HRDC serves Hubbard County, so that's why we have the request.
Okay. Yeah, and it's kind of timely too, because at our Thursday night meeting of the HRDC, this is one of the things that came up about housing and how we should do a housing study to find out what's needed in what areas. So it's timely.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Then I'll expound just a little bit. We're exploring doing a single-family project. As everybody knows, construction costs are high, and so right now it's just under discussion. And having people pay rent on time is going much better because we developed new policy, and that's being enforced. So the only other thing I had was, because you can do heritage, okay, and then I'm now on a subcommittee for Prime West for health equity, and so we met on the 13th. That was really interesting. So Prime West tracks all kinds of things about the membership and how they're using the services. And so I basically listened and learned, and they're gonna explore, we're deciding at the next meeting what to look at, what one, like I think it was in December, they started looking at immunizations and why people aren't doing those in children. And so now in June, they're gonna explore another one, so it was very interesting. That's all I have.
Okay. You want to go into David?
All right, I'll just add on Heritage. We had an executive board meeting our committee meeting last Tuesday. Gave you a little snapshot of where we're at. Heritage Living Center at that time at 36 residents, so up a little bit. Cottages were at 16, but they have one coming in, so that'll be 17 out of 18. So cottages have been staying basically full. Manor was at 14 out of 26, which was a little bit of an uptick, but I think she said one was moving out into one of the other facilities, so it could be down to 13 again. But slowly getting some progress there too. Some other good news, Heritage Living Center's traveling nurse staff contracts.
Zero. Good.
Down to zero. We still are using them on a per diem basis sometimes for things, but the contracts are done. The Manor still has one contract with the nursing pool left, so we should start to really see that in the financial statements. So that's good news. And then a survey was done recently by the Minnesota Nursing Facility Resident Quality of Life Survey was done. And I think there were 21 respondents or interviews completed at Heritage. And they have several categories here, but out of meaningful activity, scored 94.5%, which is 100% being the best. The statewide average was 73.1. Food enjoyment, we scored an 81. Statewide average was 73.4. Environmental adaptations, we scored a 98.1. Statewide average was 87.2. Dignity, we scored 100. Statewide average was 93.2. Autonomy, Heritage scored 98.3. Statewide average was 83.1. In relationships, scored a 90%. Statewide average was 70.7. In caregiving, Heritage scored 98.1%. Statewide average was 79.9. And in the mood, Heritage scored 77.9% positive, and the statewide average was 67.4. Kudos to the staff and everybody there, because obviously the residents are very, very happy and satisfied with the service they're getting for the most part, so that was good news.
I also shared with the executive board that week I had a conversation with somebody that I know whose parents live there, and she didn't know I was on the board. I just asked her how her parents were doing, and she started talking about how they're loving all the changes that are coming, and she said, what's happened there? So I just explained a little bit about Stephanie coming on board, and you know, and we talked a little bit about how the openings are at the Manor, and she said, well, word will get out. She goes, my parents are just loving living there.
Good.
Yeah.
That would be a big plus.
Yep.
That's the best
Yeah,
marketing tool there is word of
Well,
mouth.
and Stephanie started doing Pi socials, and it's done wonders for the residents, especially when they've been, you know, under lock and key and now can get out again, so.
So hopefully we're turning the corner on this,
Yep.
and hopefully all these positive things will turn into, you know, people wanting to be in the assisted living facility, and the financials will straighten out over time then too. So we'll just keep working it.
Sounds like it's going in the right direction.
Yep.
Yep. And even when Brian was here talking about transportation, at the township, you know, I don't know if you guys went to your township meetings, but somebody came from living at home and was talking about all the benefits. And even having the ridership, you know, people that aren't ready to move into assisted living, that enables them to still live at home, having transportation.
Ted?
Let's see, I had Northwest Minnesota Juvenile Center. Of course, we go through the financials and the client movements. The 7-member counties, actually, the clients, we're in a sense on the low end of the client list. The non-member counties are actually providing a lot of the clients for us. I don't think I want to name who they are and stuff like that, but it's, everything's going there, good there. The revenue is down just a little bit, but that's, when you have less youth in detention, then your numbers, your financials go down, which is a good thing. So it's, But they're financially sound and everything, so there's no worries there. Let's see, talked about, they're going through the same thing with the computer upgrades, server upgrades and stuff like that, so it's just kind of amazing the costs for all that kind of stuff. Had some updates on the secure units and the services that they provide there. Same thing with the non-secure detention units. The satellite homes, those are going really well. There's a new one now. It's for White Earth. I don't believe it's on the reservation. I believe it's just off of the reservation. And that's doing well. Let's see, so that's satellite home, and then the residential also. Everything's going good there. Let's see, we're talking about chemical dependency and how they're, the clients are dealing with that, sexual abuses and treatments and stuff like that. SO, sex offenders and all that kind of stuff. And of course, they would like to have, because we have 2 members on the board, which was myself and Dan, they again inquired whether we were gonna be having a second person join, and I said, not at this point. I said, we're gonna wait till the District 4 seat is filled, and then we'll be addressing all those kinds of things. Let's see, also was at the Hubbard County Township Association meeting last night, and of course, my notes are on my desk at home. It was a good turnout. I ended up getting there early and chatting with people, and of course, by the time I shut my mouth and find a seat, I have to sit in the front row, because that's the only places that were there. Had Tony Clays from HRDC came and spoke about transportation, the programs that are available and the grants that are available and stuff like that. Theora Goodrich, who's on the Hubbard County Township Association Board, she's also represents Hubbard County Townships on the HRDC. So she said some things about HRDC, which then, of course, after, later on in the meeting, then when I was asked to speak, I kind of just filled in some of the blanks, what the HRDC does as a regional development commission, but also how I'm trying to get stuff specifically for Hubbard County. Theora had pointed out that if you look at the map of the HRDC and where they're spending their dollars and times, we see a lot of it like in Monoman County and Beltrami County, stuff like that, but Monoman County has a lot of needs compared to the rest. They had also done a survey on incomes for the 5 county areas, and actually the Hubbard County had the highest average income of those 5 counties that are with HRDC. I wish I had that information with me. So then again, at the Hubbard County Township Association, of course, Reno Wells talks about talked about the ARPA funds and deadlines and stuff that were required. Was asked about the District 4, mentioned that there was 4 candidates, and I'd like to see that there was that kind of a turnout in the sense to people that filed. I'd like to see, one part of me would like to have only 2 people filed, then we would have another board member here in May. Now we're looking at 3rd meeting probably in August before that person gets sworn in, so there was some concern there. And then Tom and I sat in on the Dancing Sky meeting yesterday. There again, that's the older American Act. But I know Tom was there too, so I'm gonna let you share a little bit there. I was doing the old multitasking where I was listening in and also trying to do my regular job. But I guess that's about all I've got.
Yeah, that was my first meeting with Dancing with Sky, so I was mainly learning things. They gave a little summary on all, month by month from last year of the accomplishments they made, and it sounds like a really worthwhile program to be on. I'm looking forward to meeting more people on that board, so I'm going to go in person to the Moorhead meeting.
I like it too, where they have the year-end report and they break it down by county. what was spent, and like living in Park Rapids is a big one for Hubbard County.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they lay that out.
Off business?
And then just to touch on that too, I'm kind of surprised because I've been on the Dancing Sky Board since I became a commissioner. And now Tom is all of a sudden on the board, and neither of us seem to know how that happened.
Yeah, I just suddenly got a package, so I brought it to the last meeting. How come I got this? So anyways, I'm on it.
So, like I've said, I've got plenty of committees. There's some that I really don't want to get rid of, and there's some I would like to get rid of. And then there's those that, as this one is the Dancing Sky, and the Region 2 Area Agency on Aging, which is actually the bigger one, this is kind of part of that. They always met at the senior center in Bemidji. So it was convenient for me, and I think I got more out of that smaller meeting, which is, I think, Beltrami, Hubbard, Clearwater, and Lake of the Woods counties. Like I say, it seemed to hit more at home than the Dancing Sky being all northwest corner of Minnesota. I think it's 14 counties.
That was a question I was gonna ask you. So we're Region 2
Yep.
with that, okay.
I was Region 1, 2, and 4.
Okay, when I started reading the communication, I wasn't sure, well, what region are we in? Because they said, well, our region was gonna meet over here in Fergus Falls, and we'll meet over here. Okay, Region 2. And you usually meet in Bemidji when you have the advisory?
Yeah, and that's, like I say, with the COVID, they shut that down, because the senior center was shut down. And there again, like I say, you've been getting the notices now this year. I had to contact Amanda Russell to get the Zoom link for that meeting. So you say the 30th is that meeting for the
30th, the advisory council meeting, yes.
advisory? Okay.
So I'll be in Nisswa with the AMC Leadership Conference, so I will not be able to make that one.
Okay. And there again, I'd like to be at that one, so.
Okay, sounds good.
And could you forward me that? Or I could probably contact Amanda too.
I can forward it to you and make a note.
Thank you.
Okay. All finished?
Yep.
Yeah, I have a couple. SWCD, Bowser has approved, and this is for the Crow Wing, one watershed, one plan, has approved the amount of $244,000 for the planning stage of the watershed, and $136,500 will go to Houston Engineering for writing the plan, which is, I believe they're the same ones who've done many of them through the state, so that's they're a good one to choose for doing that. First public meetings should be in June, and also the policy meetings will be coming up soon. Then on to the Kitchigami Library. I learned yesterday from Jody that there's a good possibility that they'll be able to get a legal kiosk in the library. And this kiosk could potentially be used by individuals to access legal information, attend court hearings, and connect directly with legal aid. The Bemidji Library already has one, so that could be a nice addition to the services that they offer. And at our recent meeting last week, we approved some more capital improvement items, to spend down the reserve. One was to the Bemidji Library for $63,867 to renovate workspace, LED lighting, and custodial supplies. An additional one was $6,051 to Pine River to complete new shelving projects. If you remember, the Park Rapids Library got $54,000 for the HVAC system. So those are ways we're spending reserves down, and then another third way is going to be hiring a half-time staff person for the mobile library to expand their mobile outreach to communities in the region. This money will come from a donated reserve fund that has been sitting there for years. In fact, the original donation was like $130,000, and it's worth $204,000 now due to interest. That's how long it's been sitting there.
Wow.
And the intent of the donation was for outreach, so we've charged Melissa, the executive of the library, to start spending this stuff for its purposes. So, yeah, there'll be an expansion on the services of the mobile library to communities, so that'll be a good thing. And let's see, that's about it. We had our evaluation, our first annual evaluation of militia at our last meeting. And then, yeah, we discussed possible training sessions for the members of the board there, because we have a lot of new people on the board. We only had 5. We're doing the evaluations a new way now. Before, it was just the chair and one other person who did it. So now we're doing a whole board doing the evaluation, but we need some training on how to do that. So we're gonna do that. Otherwise, that's about it.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, got a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Okay, we're adjourned.